Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Every HR leader has probably been there, right? That moment you wonder if the training you're offering is truly hitting the mark, or if it's maybe just ticking a box. Today, we're diving deep into the strategy behind that exact question, training needs analysis, or TNA. Think of this deep dive as your ultimate study guide for the SPHR exam. But honestly, it's more than that. It's a practical toolkit for making really impactful L&D decisions day to day.
Exactly, because in today's world, things change so fast. Just throwing any training out there, it's just not enough anymore. Figuring out the right training, well, that's more critical than ever. And TNA, it isn't some, academic theory. It's a systematic way to diagnose problems. It helps us bridge those performance gaps, make sure our people align with the big company goals, and ultimately prove that L&D actually adds value. So by the end of this, you'll have a solid grasp for your exam prep, definitely. But you'll also be ready to use these ideas strategically right away.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting right at the core. What is training needs analysis, fundamentally?
At its heart, TNA is a systematic process.
Huh.
It's designed to identify the gap, right? The gap between the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the KSAs your organization has now, and the KSAs it needs to really hit its goals.
So like a health check for the workforce's skills. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And when performance isn't where it needs to be, TNA helps figure out if training is even the right answer. Sometimes people call it skills gap analysis
Right, I heard that term.
because that's exactly what you're doing, comparing what you have now to what you need later. And we usually break it down into three main levels of analysis. These are really the pillars for everything else: organizational, task, and individual.
Okay, those three levels sound crucial, foundational like you said. Can you walk us through each one? What do they cover? How do they connect?
Absolutely. Let's start broad with organizational analysis. This is the macro level, the really big picture view. You're looking at the whole organization, its strategy, its goals, even what's happening outside, like in the market. The questions here are things like, where are we headed as a company, and why might training be part of getting there?
Okay, so strategic alignment is key here.
Exactly. Like, say your company decides on a huge digital transformation. Well, an organizational analysis would immediately highlight a need, probably company-wide, for new digital skills. That's the where and why.
Got it. So after the big picture, where do we go next?
Then we zoom in a bit to the meso level.
Mm-hmm.
That's task analysis. You might also hear it called work analysis or job analysis. Same idea. Here, the focus shifts to specific jobs and the actual tasks people do. We break down roles to really understand the duties and the specific skills and knowledge needed for each one.
So getting into the nitty-gritty of the job itself.
Precisely. The goal is figuring out what employees must learn to do the job well. Think about training a pilot. Task analysis ensures we train them on how to, actually land the plane safely. Not just on the history of aviation. It's about those critical hands-on skills.
Makes sense. Practical application.
And the third level.
That brings us down to the micro level. Individual analysis, sometimes called person analysis. This is where we get really specific, zeroing in on individual employees. Who actually needs the training and what is their specific gap?
So it's about targeting.
Exactly. It's targeted intervention. Let's say John and Jane are both sales reps. But performance reviews show John struggles with finding new leads while Jane is great at it. Individual analysis means John gets specific training on prospecting, but we don't waste Jane's time pulling her into training she doesn't need. It's really about the right training for the right people.
That distinction is huge. Saves time, saves money, keeps people engaged. Now, I remember reading about a skills inventory. How does that fit into this picture? Great question. A skills inventory is basically an internal HR database. It lists out your employee skills, their education, work experience, certifications, things like that. It's super valuable, especially during that initial organizational analysis. It lets you quickly see what capabilities you already have in-house. Makes spotting the gaps much easier.
So it gives you a baseline.
Right. Imagine you need, say, 50 people skilled in a new programming language for a project starting next quarter. You check your skills inventory and find only 5 people have it. Boom. You've instantly identified a clear training need for 45 people.
Okay. And all these analyses, organizational, task, individual, they lead to something specific, right?
Yes, they all feed into the gap analysis. This is really the heart of the whole needs assessment. It's identifying that difference, that delta, between where your skills or performance are now and where you need them to be. It's the direct result of looking at the organization, the jobs, and the people. But here's the critical question, especially for SPHR candidates. Is this gap really a training issue?
That's a key point. It might not be.
Exactly. Or is it something else? Like, are the processes broken? Do people lack the right tools? Is it a motivation problem? Poor management. You have to diagnose correctly because throwing training at a non-training problem, it just doesn't work. It's a waste.
Okay, we have the concepts: organizational, task, individual, skills inventory, gap analysis. Now, how do we actually do these analyses in practice? How do we get those insights?
Let's get practical. Starting again with organizational analysis. This is all about making sure training supports the company's big strategic goals. So you'd actually review the vision statement, the mission, the strategic plan documents.
Yeah.
Ask, if we're expanding globally, what training do we need on, say, cross-cultural communication or international regulations?
So connecting training directly to business needs.
Precisely. Or if the company's trying to foster a more innovative culture, maybe you need training on creative thinking or design thinking methodologies. You also need to look at organizational performance data. High-level stuff. Are sales declining? Error rates going up? Is turnover high? Are customer satisfaction scores dropping?
Those are like the warning signs, the red flags.
Exactly. They're potential indicators that training might be part of the solution.
Right.
And you absolutely have to assess the resources and the climate. Do you have leadership buy-in for training? What's the budget look like? Critically, what's the learning culture? Does the organization value development, or is it seen as a cost?
Past experiences matter too, right? If previous training failed.
That's sadly. And don't forget the legal and regulatory context. Are there new laws, maybe around data privacy or harassment prevention, that require certain training? Organizational analysis nails down the where and the why from that strategic view. It stops you from just, training for the sake of training.
That makes perfect sense. Prioritizing based on strategy.
Yeah.
So once we know why and where, how do we figure out what people need to learn for specific jobs?
That's where task analysis comes in strong. Now we zoom in. We focus on specific jobs or tasks to define exactly what needs to be learned. First step, identify the key tasks and duties. Go deeper than the generic job description. For someone working on a manufacturing line, this might be calibrating specific machines, troubleshooting common errors, performing quality checks, following safety protocols, really specific actions.
Okay, break it down into actual job components.
Right. Then, for each of those key tasks, you determine the required KSAs. Knowledge, skills, abilities. And this is where you often consult subject matter experts, SMEs, the people who do the job really well.
Your high performers.
Exactly. They can tell you what knowledge is needed, like understanding diagnostic codes, what skills are required, like using specific tools effectively, and what abilities are necessary, like, say, problem solving under pressure.
But SMEs aren't always great at explaining how they do what they do, right? It can be intuitive for them.
That's a crucial point. They're expert doers, not necessarily expert explainers. Your job as the HR pro or L&D specialist is to probe, ask good questions, maybe even observe them working, to really tease out those underlying competencies they might take for granted. Then you evaluate current performance against those required KSAs for each task. Look for common mistakes, bottlenecks, inefficiencies.
Finding the specific pain points.
Yes, and that directly informs the content of your training, makes it super relevant. You also need to document the tools and conditions involved, specific software, machinery, safety gear, work environment factors. That all needs to be part of the training context.
So task analysis is like building a detailed blueprint for competence.
Exactly, I like that. A blueprint or a recipe. It ensures the training is practical and directly applicable.
Okay, blueprint created. Now, individual analysis. How do we ensure we're giving the right training to the right specific people and, just as importantly, not training people who don't need it?
Individual analysis is all about that precision targeting. You'll use tools like performance appraisals, manager feedback, maybe skills assessments. If your sales data shows, say, 5 out of 20 reps are consistently below target on upselling, you dig deeper with those 5 individuals. What specific skill are they lacking?
So data-driven, but also involving conversations.
Absolutely. You also look at self-identification and career goals. Things like individual development plans, IDPs, where employees map out their growth with their manager, or maybe results from employee surveys asking about development interests. This helps align training with what employees actually want and need for their careers.
And what about identifying who doesn't need the training? That seems equally important for efficiency.
Critically important. You want to avoid wasting money and, honestly, avoid annoying employees by making them sit through training on things they already know well. Think about a new software rollout. Maybe you do a proficiency test first. Only those who score below a certain level need the full intensive training. Others might just need a quick job aid or a short overview.
Smart. Tailoring the intensity.
Yes. And you also have to consider readiness and learning styles. Does someone have the prerequisite knowledge? Are there language barriers? Disabilities that require accommodation? What's their preferred way to learn hands-on, visual, reading? And crucially, assess motivation and engagement. This goes back to that earlier point. Is the performance issue because they can't do it, a skill gap, or because they won't do it, a motivation or engagement gap?
The classic skill versus will problem.
Exactly. Training is great for skill gaps. It's usually pretty useless for will gaps. You need different interventions for that. So verify it's truly an ability issue before prescribing training.
This whole flow, organizational, then task, then individual, it's so logical. And I can see how skipping steps would lead to problems. That's probably a key takeaway for the SPHR exam, too.
Absolutely. Jumping straight to a training solution without this layered analysis. That's probably the most common mistake. And likely a wrong answer choice on the exam.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Training doesn't happen in a bubble. There's a whole legal landscape surrounding it. What are the key laws HR leaders absolutely need to know in the U.S. context?
This is critical. First and foremost, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This prohibits discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and remember, courts interpret sex to include gender identity and sexual orientation and national origin.
And how does that apply specifically to training?
Directly. You cannot discriminate in who gets selected for training opportunities, including things like apprenticeships or leadership programs. So if you have a high potential program and only men seem to get nominated, that's a huge red flag under Title VII. And the content of the training itself must be free from bias or harassment. Poorly designed D&I training, ironically, can sometimes even lead to claims.
Wow. Okay, what's next? The Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA from 1990. This prohibits discrimination against qualified individuals with disabilities in all aspects of employment, including training. Key implications are equal access. You can't deny training if someone is qualified but has a disability. If your training is off-site in a building without ramps, you need an accessible alternative for an employee using a wheelchair.
And accommodations, right.
Yes, reasonable accommodations. This could mean providing sign language interpreters, braille materials, extra time on tests, closed captioning for videos, ensuring e-learning is compatible with screen readers.
Accessibility is key, online and offline.
Definitely. And then there's the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, ADEA, from 1967. This protects employees aged 40 and older. You can't exclude older workers from training based on assumptions like they're too close to retirement or won't be able to learn new technology.
That sounds like a common, maybe unconscious bias?
It absolutely can be. An unofficial practice of only sending younger employees to tech upskilling workshops. That's illegal under ADEA. Selection must be based on merit, skills gaps, and business need, completely irrespective of age.
Got it. Title VII, ADEA. Are there others?
Yeah, a few others to keep on the radar. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, has rules about paying non-exempt employees for time spent in mandatory job-related training. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, mandates specific safety training for certain hazards or equipment. Think hazard communication, lockout, hagout procedures. And Title VII also covers religious accommodation. You may need to reasonably accommodate an employee whose religious practices conflict with a training schedule or requirement.
So compliance is multifaceted. It's not just about avoiding lawsuits, is it?
Not at all. It's about building a foundation of fairness and inclusion. It ensures everyone has the opportunity to learn and grow, which taps into your full talent pool. It builds trust, boosts morale, and frankly, strengthens your employer brand.
Makes sense. Okay, beyond compliance, you mentioned TNA as a powerful strategic tool. How does HR leverage TNA proactively to shape the workforce and drive business outcomes?
Great question. Think about workforce planning and managing skill gaps on a larger scale. TNA is essentially that large-scale skill gap analysis. Let's say your company's 5-year plan involves entering a new market requiring expertise in specific international regulations. TNA identifies that gap now, allowing you to strategically decide, do we train our current people? Do we hire externally?
And training internally might be faster or cheaper sometimes.
Often, yes, especially for developing existing talent. TNA informs that build versus buy decision. It's also absolutely vital for succession planning and leadership development. TNA helps you define the competencies needed for critical leadership roles and then assess potential successors against those competencies to identify their specific development gaps.
So you can create targeted development plans for future leaders.
Precisely. If a future director needs better strategic planning skills, TNA pinpoints that, and you build development around it. Remember that mnemonic I plan. identify roles, pinpoint successors, lead development, assess readiness, navigate transitions. TNA fuels that lead development piece.
Nice mnemonic. What else?
Performance improvement, definitely. When performance dips, TNA is step one if you suspect a skill issue. It helps find the root cause. Is it really a lack of training on the new system, or was the onboarding poor? Or are managers not coaching effectively? TNA helps differentiate.
Verifying if it's an ability gap again.
Right, and is indispensable during organizational change, mergers, restructurings, major tech implementations. They all require new skills, new ways of working. TNA identifies what people need to learn to navigate the change successfully. For SPHR scenarios involving change, TNA is almost always the right first step, not just throwing generic courses at people or assuming you have to hire everyone new.
Okay, and I can see the link to engagement too.
Big time. TNA, especially when linked to individual development plans, shows employees you're invested in their growth. Addressing skill gaps can reduce frustration and improve confidence. Addressing career development needs boosts engagement and retention. It also helps with compliance and risk management, proactively identifying where mandatory training, like safety or harassment prevention, is needed before an incident happens. Ultimately, TNA provides that data-driven proof, moving HR from just reacting to problems to being a truly proactive, strategic partner to the business.
Which leads perfectly to the next big question, the one the CFO always asks. What's the ROI? What are we getting for our training dollars? Measuring and showing the value is crucial.
Absolutely crucial. You need to speak the language of business. The classic metric is training return on investment, ROI, it asks. Did the financial benefits of the training outweigh the costs? And by how much?
How do you calculate that?
The basic formula is monetary benefit of the training, cost of the training, then multiply by 100 to get a percentage. So say a sales training program costs $50,000, but you can track that it led to a $100,000 increase in sales from the participants. The benefit, $100K minus the cost, $50K, is $50. Divide that by the cost, $50K, you get 1. Multiply by 100, that's 100% ROI. You doubled your investment.
Okay, simple enough in theory. What if the benefits aren't direct sales increases?
That's the challenge. Quantifying benefits like improved teamwork, better customer satisfaction, or fewer errors into hard dollars can be tricky. You need solid metrics and sometimes reasonable estimations based on operational data.
Let's do a quick practice. If a training costs $20,000 and generated $25,000 in benefits, maybe reduced wage.
Okay, benefit $25K minus cost, $20K is $5K. Divide $5K by the cost, $20K, that's 0.25. Multiply by 100, 25% ROI. Decent return.
Got it. Are there other related metrics?
Yes, there's cost-benefit analysis, which involves listing out all the costs and all the benefits, even non-monetary ones initially. From that, you can calculate the benefit-cost ratio, BCR, which is simply benefits divided by costs. If the BCR is greater than 1, the benefits outweigh the costs. That safety training example. $30 K savings divided by $10 K cost gives a BCR of 3.0. Very positive. You might also look at the payback period. How long does it take for the benefits to cover the initial cost?
Okay, those are financial. What about efficiency or learning itself?
Right. You also track training efficiency metrics, things like cost per trainee, completion rates, time to competency, and you absolutely measure the learning and application. Knowledge skill improvement, often using pre- and post-training assessments, and crucially, application behavior change. Are people actually using the skills back on the job? This often requires manager observation, 360-degree feedback, or looking at performance data shifts.
It sounds like it connects to Kirkpatrick's model.
It's exactly. Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation provide a great framework. Level 1, reaction. Did they like the training? Those smile sheets you get at the end. Easy to measure, but least valuable. Level 2, learning. What knowledge or skills did they actually gain? Tests, quizzes, skill demonstrations measure this. Level 3, behavior. Are they applying what they learned back on the job? This is harder, needs observation, performance tracking. Level 4, results. Did the training impact business outcomes, like increased sales, reduced errors, lower turnover? The ultimate goal, but often hardest to isolate the training's direct impact.
And didn't someone add a 5th level?
Yes, Jack Phillips added level 5, ROI, linking those business results back to the costs. The key takeaway here, measuring behavior change, level 3, and business results, level 4, is far more meaningful than just knowing if people like the lunch, level 1.
Right. This is how L&D demonstrates strategic value, not just activity. You're showing tangible impact using data executives understand. Okay, this next part is gold. For anyone prepping for the SPHR, we know the right way to do TNA now. But the exam often tests if you can spot the wrong way. What are the common traps or pitfalls we need to avoid?
Oh, absolutely. Number one, without a doubt, is jumping to training solutions without doing the analysis. A manager calls you, says, my team needs communication training, and HR just orders it without asking why, without checking if it's really a skill gap.
That's the cardinal sin of TNA, basically.
Pretty much. On the exam, any answer suggesting implementing training before assessment is likely wrong. Another huge pitfall. Assuming training fixes everything, training is not a magic wand. It won't fix deep-seated morale issues, bad management, lack of resources, or unfair compensation.
The training placebo.
Exactly. If an exam scenario presents a non-training problem, like low pay causing turnover, and suggests retention skills training as the solution, big red flag, wrong answer. Also, watch out for ignoring the organizational context, offering generic, off-the-shelf training that has zero connection to the company's actual strategic priorities, waste of time and money.
Like offering basic computer skills when the company is undergoing a complex AI transformation.
Perfect example. You also need to avoid neglecting evaluation and follow-up. If you don't measure results, levels 3, 4 ROI, you have no idea if the training worked or how to improve it. Answers that omit evaluation are suspect. And of course, legal oversights, not providing ADEA accommodations, discriminating in selection based on age, ADEA, or other protected characteristics, Title VII, using biased training materials. Yeah. These are serious compliance failures and exam traps.
Any other common mistakes?
Yeah, a few more. Over-relying on just one training method, like only using e-learning for everything when a blended approach might be better. Failing to engage stakeholders designing training in an ivory tower without input from managers or the employees who will actually take it leads to poor buy-in. And civil data and documentation mistakes, not keeping good records of who attended, their results, etc., hinders evaluation and can be a problem legally.
So, being aware of these pitfalls helps eliminate wrong answers on the exam, but more importantly, helps you make smarter, more effective, and compliant decisions in your actual HR role. Always ask, did I do the analysis? Is this potentially discriminatory? Is it strategic? Okay, let's make this even more concrete. Let's run through a few SPHR-style scenarios to see how all these pieces fit together under pressure.
Great idea. Scenario 1, digital transformation. Your company, a retail chain, is rolling out new tech mobile checkout, AI for inventory. Big changes. What's the most strategic L&D approach? Option A might be generic computer basics. Too broad, not tailored. Wrong. Option C might be hire all new staff. Drastic, costly, bad for morale, potential ADA issues. Wrong. Option D might be send managers to one seminar and hope it trickles down. Not effective for skill building. Right. Wrong. The best answer, option B, will involve conducting a focused TNA for these specific digital initiatives, designing a tailored, blended program, maybe workshops, e-learning, on-the-job coaching, and crucially, measuring success via metrics like tech adoption rates and maybe customer feedback.
Okay, so TNA first, then tailored design, then measurement. Strategic. Got it. Scenario 2.
Scenario 2. Training access and ADEA. Jack, 34, and Karen, 58, are both top performers, vying for a spot in a prestigious management development program. MDP. Your ops director whispers to you, Karen's great, but she's close to retirement, maybe not worth the investment. Karen wants to grow. What do? Option A. Agree with the director, pick Jack. Clearly illegal age discrimination, ADEA. Big mistake. Option C. Offer Karen some lesser consolation training, still discriminatory, patronizing. Bad idea. Option D. Stall. So you need to consult legal. While caution is good, an SPHR should know ADEA applies. This undermines HR's role. The correct approach, option B, is to use objective, job-related criteria for selection, regardless of age. If Karen is equally or more qualified based on those criteria, select her. And you need to educate the ops director that age cannot legally be a factor.
Uphold the law, use objective criteria, leverage talent. Makes sense. One more.
Scenario 3. Unconscious bias training value. The D&I Council wants unconscious bias training for all managers. A senior executive is skeptical, calls it feel-good fluff, wants to see the value. How do you best convince them? Option A, just say it's the right thing to do or everyone else is doing it. Might not sway a skeptic needing business reasons. Option C, focus only on avoiding lawsuits. Important, but maybe too narrow and hard to quantify lawsuits avoided. Option D, push back and tell the exec it's their responsibility. Confrontational, not strategic. The strongest approach, option B, is data-driven. Propose piloting the training. Measure relevant pre- and post-training metrics, maybe diversity in hiring promotions, employee survey scores on inclusion. Try to calculate ROI, perhaps linking it to reduce turnover among diverse groups or improve team innovation metrics. Back it up with research or case studies showing business benefits elsewhere.
Evidence-based business language, pilot program to prove concept. Smart. These scenarios really highlight how TNA, legal knowledge, and strategic thinking all intersect. It's not just about knowing the terms.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground today. This is dense stuff. To help make sure it all sticks, especially for the exam, do you have any quick memory aids, mnemonics, frameworks?
Yeah, a few handy ones. First, the absolute classic for any instructional design process, ADEA. Analyze, design, develop, implement, evaluate. Remember, always analyze first. That's the TNA piece.
ADEA. Got it. What else?
The 70-20-10 rule for learning. It's a reminder that development isn't just formal courses. Roughly 70% comes from on-the-job experience, 20% from social learning, mentors, peers, and only 10% from formal training. Emphasizes a blended approach.
Okay, 70-20-10. Useful contest.
For evaluation, definitely remember Kirkpatrick's 4 levels: reaction, learning, behavior, results. You can think RLBR, did like it, learn it, do it, behavior. Did it impact results?
RLBR. Nice and simple. For succession planning, we mentioned iPlan. Identify roles, pinpoint successors, lead development, assess readiness, navigate transitions. And whenever you're setting training objectives, make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Ensures clarity.
Smart goals, always good. Anything for the laws.
Just a silly one I thought of.
Mm.
For the big 3 anti-discrimination laws, think TADA, Title VII, ADEA, ADEA. Helps remember to ensure training access and content are TA, fair and accessible for everyone.
TADA, I like it. Using these mnemonics can definitely help recall these key frameworks under pressure, and they just represent good strategic thinking. Wow, okay, that really was a deep dive into training needs analysis. We've covered definitions, the whole process, the crucial legal angles, how TNA drives strategy, measuring ROI, and even those tricky SPHR pitfalls and scenarios. Hopefully this serves as a really valuable study guide for all of you listening.
Absolutely. And the final thought I'd leave you with is this. Truly effective learning and development, the kind that moves the needle, it isn't just about launching courses. It's about ensuring you have the right training, delivered to the right people, for the right strategic reasons, and measured in the right way. When you do TNA properly, training stops being just an expense line item. It becomes a powerful investment in your people and your organization's future. It's a strategic lever for success.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Use these insights, apply them in your work, and apply them to your certification prep. Keep learning, keep growing, and best of luck on your SPHR journey. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.